So I would like to thank Dr. Chitra for having me here. I am going to talk on normal tension glaucoma preferred practices. So NTG and POAG represent a continuum of open angle glaucomas. And while intraocular pressure is a predominant risk factor for POAG, IOP independent risk factors are also said to have a role in NTG. And it is supported by the collaborative normal tension glaucoma study, which showed favorable effect of IOP reduction on progression of visual field. However, progression is seen in some patients despite lowering of IOP, suggesting non-IOP factors as well. So how common it is? In a population-based study, mean proportion of NTG was higher in Asian population, 76% as compared to white population. And it is the most common form of glaucoma seen in East Asian countries. In Japan, 92% of the POAG patients had IOP of 21 millimeter mercury or less. There are subtle differences in clinical characteristics of NTG from POAG, and the defects are more focal, close to macula, focal RNFL defects, and visual field loss are dense scotomas, and again, which are close to fixation. And there is increased prevalence of disc hemorrhage in normal tension glaucomas. Coming to risk factors, we all know about the non-vascular risk factors. IOP is the risk factor with wider IOP fluctuations along with female sex, myopia, and thin CCT. And Flammer has come out with a syndrome, primary vascular dysfunction, and which is commonly seen in patients with normal tension glaucoma. Apart from that, diseases like diabetes, systemic hypertension, migraine, and sleep apnea are associated with normal tension glaucoma. So basically, vasospasm and endothelial dysfunction are the common pathology which leads to autonomic dysregulation in most of these diseases, and leading to decreased ocular perfusion pressure and less blood supply to the optic nerve. So it is multifactorial and several factors are responsible for the damage of the disc, including nocturnal hypotension, autonomic dysfunction, variability of the intraocular pressure, and obstructive sleep apnea. Now, how do you diagnose normal tension glaucoma? A detailed history, including targeted questions towards systemic conditions, because can be associated with systemic diseases, including hematological crisis in the past, or injury should be considered. History should be taken regarding migraine, Raynaud's, episodes of shock, headache, sleep apnea, and other neurological symptoms. I think it's very important that you ask a lot of questions during before examination about the systemic history. Use of medications, including systemic and inhalational steroids, because steroids may have caused damage before and after withdrawal of steroid, the IOP may have become normal. And use of antihypertensive agents like beta blockers should also be taken into account, which causes reduction of the intraocular pressure. Again, since it's a diagnosis of exclusion, one has to rule out POAG by doing 24 hours diurnal variation of pressure and measuring central corneal thickness. One has to rule out primary angle closure glaucoma. So gonioscopy is a must, and subtle signs of pseudoexfoliation and pigmentary glaucoma, especially pigmentary glaucoma in burnt out face when the IOP has become normal, but there are still disc and field changes. And also the pupillary evaluation to elicit afferent pupillary defect in asymmetric disease. It's important to rule out congenital disc anomalies and systemic conditions which can mimic the glaucomatous changes. So these are the conditions of congenital disc anomalies: morning glory syndrome, optic disc pit, tilted optic disc, or optic disc hypoplasia. And these are the systemic conditions which can mimic glaucomatous disc and field changes. Now, coming to investigations, it's very important to measure 24 hours blood pressure to exclude nocturnal systemic hypotension, and blood investigations to rule out systemic etiology, including CBC, ESR, CRP, ANA, lipid profile, etc. MRI is not indicated in all patients, but it is indicated in young patients to rule out intracranial space occupying lesions. if the fields are suggestive of neurological defects and if there is rim pallor, which is more than cupping. Color Doppling and Doppler imaging of common carotid artery if you're suspecting the obstruction in the carotid artery or its branches. And if a patient is giving history of sleep apnea, then polysomnography should be performed. Genetic testing should be performed in optic neuropathies. Now coming to management, since IOP is the major risk factor in causation of normal tension glaucoma also, IOP reduction should be achieved, at least 30% IOP reduction should be achieved as suggested by the collaborative normal tension glaucoma study. And again, PG analogs are the first choice of drug in normal tension glaucoma also. One can use brimonidine and dorzolamide, which are supposed to be neuroprotective and vasoprotective. And SLT can be performed, and surgery is the can be done if the medical management is not effective. And the role of improvement of ocular blood flow is controversial, and it's not practiced routinely. However, it's important to identify and treat any cardiovascular or hematological disorder, rule out nocturnal hypotension. So to conclude, controlling the IOP remains the mainstay in the management of normal tension glaucoma also. However, consideration must be given to the vascular factors more so in progressive cases, and a detailed systemic history and evaluation is a must in these patients. Neuroprotective agents theoretically improve the function of optic nerve, and thus interesting area of investigations for the treatment for future.